Hi all, I'll be explaining about Chapter 4 of the subject MMM1023, which entitled Images. So these are the overview of the topic images. We will discuss about the creation of multimedia images, the creation of still images. Still means static. Colors and palettes in multimedia. Palettes means like last time when you were learning coloring, and then choices of color in your selection, that is your palettes. The image file types used in multimedia. So before we start the creation of images in multimedia, we should have some planning again. So you can plan it using flowchart or storyboard. You can also organize the available tools. You can have multiple monitors to help you to zoom into tiny pixels. Still images may be the most important element of multimedia project because it is actually your raw data. So the type of still images created depending on your display resolution and also your hardware software capability. If you are using a very good camera, your capture of the image might be having higher definition or resolution. So there are two types of still images. One is 3D drawing and the other one is rendering. Rendering is actually an automatic process to generate photorealistic or non-photorealistic from the 2D or 3D models based on computer applications. So still images are generated in two ways, either through bitmaps or vector drawn graphics. Bitmaps is derived from the word bit, which means the simplest element in which only two digits are used, either 0 or 1. In computer, we always use 0 means no, not to go, nothing. 1 means yes. And map, which is two-dimensional metric of these bits. So a bitmap is actually a data metric that is describing the individual dots of an image. When you were doing the Photoshop, when you zoom in, you can actually see that a straight line is not exactly straight, and all the combination of small dots make up your picture. So bitmap are actually an image format that is suited for creation of photorealistic images, complex drawing, or images that require really fine detail. Photorealistic means that like you have a picture and you want to do a drawing of the picture quite exactly. You have a guidance from the real picture. Bitmaps images are also known as pane graphics, or a bitmap is made up of individual dots or picture elements that we call it as pixels or pals. Bitmap images can have varying bit or color depth. So let's look at the table. If we know the bit depth, then we will know the number of colors possible in your palette. For instance, if you have 1 bit, which means 2 power 1 is 2, which means you have a combination of either 1 or 0 in binary. Then if you have 2 bit, which means 2 power 2, you have 4 possible color. So it's either 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 or 1, 1. So if you have 4 bit, 2 power 4 is 16 possible color. So you will start with 0, 0, 0, 0 until 1, 1, 1, 1. So as general, bitmap is actually defined as an array of dots or pixels. So these are some of the criteria of a bitmap graphics, which means color depth per pixel, high quality pixels, they are photorealistic, they are larger than the vector graphic. So if you want to calculate the file size, the calculation will be the pixels, the number of pixels, times the color depth, like how many bits, divided by 8. 8 is actually to convert it into byte, and then we divide it again with 1024. Okay, generally speaking, anything which is kilo, which means is converting to 1000, right? Because now we want the file size in kilobytes. So we divide that by 8 because it's 2 power 3, we have total of 8 bytes, divided by 1024 because it's actually 2 power 10. So 2 power 10 we have 1024. So like just now I was saying about kilogram, so 1 kilogram is actually 1000 gram, but in computer there are exactly 1024 bytes as equivalent to 1 kilobyte. That's because we calculate everything using binary. This is the creation of still images. If you are using 24 bits depth, so it is actually 2 power 24. You have millions of combination of color to produce this picture. If you have 8 bits, so it's 2 power 8, you have possible of 256 colors to produce this picture. The same goes to 2 power 8 of combination of 256 colors, and 2 power 4 you have 16 combination. So the lesser combination of colors, you will have lesser clearer images as compared to this and this and this. The quality are better. Okay, deterred over here means it's like the possible nearest color. So when it comes to, like, let's look at this picture. Deterred 1 bit, so it's actually 2 power 1, you have 2, so your picture either have black or have white. But if you have 4 bit depth, so it's 2 power 4, you have combination of 16 colors, so you have the black, the white, and also the possible 2 grays. And if you have 2 power 8, you have 256 shades of gray over here if you are manipulating just the black and white. So deterred actually give you the nearest color. For instance, sometimes when you have one missing patch and you want a computer to automatically generate one patch of color back to you, it will actually choose the nearest color from the neighboring pixel surrounding the picture in order to come up with a possible replacement for the patch. For instance, if over here you have red, so if you have a missing patch over here, then the possible color that's coming in will be the red and orange family. Bitmap can be inserted by using clip art galleries using the Bitmap software like CorelDRAW, like Sketch, like Microsoft Paint. It can also use to capture and edit images, and of course it can be inserted by you scanning the image into the computer. Using the clip art galleries is an assortment of graphics, photographs, sounds, and video. Clip art is actually a very popular alternative for users who do not want to create their own images. So sometimes when you kill the Microsoft Word, kill means when you do not want to use, you want to quit from Microsoft Word, and then they will ask you, do you want to keep the clip art for the next usage? So if you do not want to have anything saved in your computer, then you can actually say no. You just want the clip art to remain inside the particular document that you do. Clip art collections are available on CD-ROMs and on internet. So using the clip arts, this page shows a thumbnail that has different content of various royalty-free photo disc collections from the Getty images. So you can see, like, this is the combination of great taste, fruits and vegetables, and this is a very good example. Food for thoughts, you can see the combination of color. If it's red, the next one will be beige, and then the next one will be back to somewhere red, and then if you have green, the next one will have a little green. So they are actually doing the neighboring color so that it won't contrast too much. At the same time, it will bring out the color toning effect. The industrial standard programs for bitmap painting and editing are Adobe's Photoshop, of course, you have learned, the AI, Adobe Illustrator, Corel Painter, and CorelDRAW. Capturing and editing images. Capturing and storing images directly from the screen is another way to example the image multimedia. For example, you can actually use the print screen on Windows, or actually in for Mac user, you just need to press the Command Shift and number 4 in order to select the picture that you want to screenshot from your screen. Image editing programs enable the user to enhance and make composite image. So sometimes if you want to make fun of someone, they look okay, but sometimes our Photoshop fields, I'm sure you see a lot on Facebook, they show some of the Photoshop fields picture, and it's really funny. We can also alter or distort sometimes the angle that we are taking is not right. We want to do adjustment. So again, if you want to really edit a lot, I'll advise you to use Photoshop. If you want to come up with new image, I'll advise you to use Photoshop also. Illustrator is more on just for improvement, like image editing in this case. We can also do morphing, which means manipulate still images to create animated transformation. Sometimes we can actually multiply the same image into many image. Then we can do accumulation and flip through the image to have the animated effects. Let's look at the next example. Morphing software was used to seamlessly transform the images of 16 kindergarteners. When a soundtrack of music and voices was added to the 4-minute piece, it made a compelling video about how similar children are to each other. So in fact, different 16 kids' image were being captured, and then through the Photoshops and the morphing software, we can change each kids, their faces looking really similar, like a flow. From here, it adds a little longer hair to the smile, having the same eyes with shorter hair to a boy, to wider smile, and continue until changing of the hair styles, and then you have a smile with dimple, smile with thinner lips, and then you have broader lips and broader smile to different nose. So, but it looks like a collections that they might be siblings or cousins. So user can scan images from the conventional sources and make necessary alterations and manipulation. This is an example given from the alien skin that allowed users to manipulate bitmap images. So you can see, like the original image, we can make it into a black and white. So it becomes two different pictures giving two different representations of the image. After knowing the bitmap graphics, it's time for us to look into the vector drawn graphics. So we'll discuss about the application of vector drawn images, how these vector drawn images work, and we'll do a comparison between the vector drawn images versus the bitmap images. So vector drawn images are used in the following areas. For example, a CAD program. CAD is usually used when you want to draw a bridge, draw the bolt and nut and screw, you know. So graphic artists designing for the print media, if you want to print a really big banner or poster, you usually will use the vector drawn image or keep the file in vector form, because you do not want the file size to be overloaded. If you have 3D animation programs, you can also use a vector drawn image. Application requiring drawing of graphic shapes. Sometimes shapes, once you just need to make it elongated, stretch it out, turning the rotation, and then you become another shape. So if you use the bitmap file, it might be really high resolution but taking up a lot of space in your computer. So you have used the Adobe Illustrator before. There's an option for you to choose to save the file in an SVG format, which is actually the vector graphics. How vector drawn images work is that vector is a line that is described by the location of its two endpoints. So usually a vector, they will provide the initial coordinate to the final destination coordinate, and from there we need to find the distance, which we call that the magnitude, and then we need to determine the directions to where the distance is going. Vector drawing makes use of the Cartesian coordinates. Cartesian coordinates are numbers that describe a point in 2 or 3 dimensional space as the intersection of X, Y, and Z axis. So you're a math student, and one of the chapter in your math, I'm sure you cover vectors. So depending on you're drawing a 2D or 3D image, we can both calculate the magnitude and the direction for each of the transformation that is moving. Vector drawn images versus the bitmap. Vector image use less memory space as compared to the bitmap images. For the web, you usually want to choose the vector graphics because it is smaller in size, and thus when used for animation, we can draw faster than bitmap, and then we can download and upload faster to the web. Vector images cannot be used for photorealistic images. Vector images require a plugin for web-based display. Bitmap are not easily scalable and resizable. Bitmap can be converted into vector images using the auto tracing. Like what I've mentioned earlier, rendering is actually an image synthesizing process. So you have to use the intricate algorithms such as raycasting, ray tracing, optimization, rasterization to apply the user specific effects in order to generate a photorealistic or non-photorealistic images automatically. Panoramas is defined as the panoramic images that are created by stitching together a sequence of photos around a circle by adjusting them into a single seamless bitmap. So when you're capturing a panoramic image, you have to move around at the same axis and then covering the 360 surrounding, or some software actually allowed you to also capture the top and the bottom in order to produce the 720 degrees panoramic images. In multimedia, we must also be very concerned about the colors and palettes. So we will further discuss about the natural lights and color in the next slides. And just to let you have a glimpse of what color palettes is about, it's a palette where you get to choose or pick more than one color space, like blue. You have so many kinds of different blue. So you have almost RGB in every single main color family. You have 256 colors to choose. That is equivalent to the red family or green or blue family. So light actually comes from an atom where an electron passes from the higher to the lower energy level, and each atom produces uniquely specific colors. Colors is the frequency of light wave within the narrow band of the electromagnetic spectrum to which the human eyes responds. So when we mix all the color, we actually have white light, but whatever that color touches the object and then reflect back to our eyes is the color that we deceived as the color code that we see. So for instance, if somebody is wearing a blue color dress, the blue that you define might be different from the blue that I define because of our color cones are different in our eyes. So in the fashion world, usually when they talk about color, they have the exact code like 1299, okay, that is referring to the exact specific blue, as compared to you just say light blue or dark blue. It is not accurate. About the natural light, we should also discuss about what additive color is about, what subscriptive color is about, and we also monitor specific colors and the colors models. So additive color is a color that is created by combining colored light sources in the three primary colors RGB. TVs and computer monitor actually uses this method. Remember I was telling you about the ion that is bombarded in the TV. So the more it vibrates inside, then we will see a better color of the images that are being screened. So until a certain lifespan, when the ion is no longer at the high frequency, so the color TV is no longer that clear anymore. In the subtractive color method, color is created by the combination color media such as paints or ink. The color media absorb or actually subtract some parts of the color spectrum of light and reflect the remaining back to our eyes. So subtractive color is a process used for creating color in printing. If you were to buy toners for your printer, they actually come in cyan, magenta or yellow instead of the RGB form. If you buy a black tone, it will come in K, which means the ketone. So let's look at this picture. The primary color is actually RGB and the subtractive color is actually CMK. CMY. K is actually a combination of Y, C and M. Whereas if you were to add red, green and blue, you will get white in the middle. So subtractive color is the process used to create color in printing. It consists of tiny halftone dots of the three primary colors that produces cyan, magenta and yellow, C and Y. Besides additive and subtractive colors, we also have these monitor specific colors, which means that let's say I were to use PowerPoint using Mac to do, and you're using PowerPoint in Windows to do, maybe sometimes we have deferment in color. So in order to avoid the deferment of the standard color, we always set our preferred color depth to 32 bits, which is actually 2 power 5. And the preferred monitor resolution is actually 800 times 600 pixels. Models used to specify color in computer terms are like RGB model, which means it has 24 bit of methodology. The color is specific in terms of red, green and blue values, ranging from the value of 2 to 255. Why is it 255 and not 256? That's because 2 power 8 is 256, and then you minus 1 because of you start from 0. Now we have this HSB and HSL models. Color is specified as an angle from 0 to 360 degrees in the color wheel. Sometimes when you don't use the color palette that comes in a grid form, you can use the HSB or HSL model that comes in a cone form. So you can rotate around to choose the specific color that you want. Models include the CMYK, of course, the CIE, YIQ, YUV, and YCC. Color palettes are actually mathematical tables, so it's not like it's something that we define by ourselves. It's automatically defined by the standards in the computer, and is also defined by the color of pixels displayed on the screen. Palette is also called as the lookup table or CLUTs on Macintosh. The most common palettes are actually 1, 4, 8, 16 or 24 bit depth. But if you have very good computer, you would like to have at least 32 bit depth, which is what is that? 5 bits of bit depth. Dithering is a process whereby the color value of each pixel change to the closest matching color in the target palette. It is done using mathematical algorithm also. Remember the picture just now when I was explaining a single picture about how many bits combination. So if you have like 200 bits depth, so it's 2 power 200. That is the amount of possible color that you could derive from a single picture that will make your picture having very good quality image and high resolution. So dithering is the process that it will take the nearest neighbor color bit to make it close, and in order for you to match the missing patch. Remember I was telling you earlier? I have another example of dithering here. So these images were dithered in Photoshop to best fit the 8-bit palettes in GIF files, mainly the adaptive system and custom 216 Netscape. So this is the original picture in window. After the color determinant and compression, you have the result in done in window, and this is the result done using Mac. They show mainly the maximum quality that you go in this row and the lowest quality that you can go in this row. So usually if you compress the picture, it will give you a lower size file, but the quality of the picture might be lower also, because it actually go through the dithering process of getting the nearest color and it's not the original color. So note also the differences among the palettes and system, especially in the gradient blue background. In multimedia image file types, we have three main formats. They are categorized into the Mac format, the window format, and the cross-platform format, which means two different kind of platform also you can use. On Mac, the most common format used is PICT, P-I-C-T, which stands for Preliminary Implementation Component Tool. It is very complicated and very versatile, as it is developed mainly for the Apple use. So almost every application in Mac, you can import and export out the PICT files, no problem. But when you transfer to another platform, they might not be able to recognize. So in PICT file, both vector drawn objects and bitmap can be resized side by side. In Windows, we usually use the file format of DIB, which is also known as BMP. DIB actually stands for the Device Independent Bitmaps. Bitmap format are used often by Windows developer are BMP, the Windows bitmap file, TIFF, extensively used in DTP packages, and PIX, used by Mac DOS Paint software. So do not need to worry whether you want to use Mac format or Windows format. The best is to use the cross-platform format, which is like JPEG, GIF, PNG, Adobe PDF, portable document format. If you're using the multimedia software, you can use the .psd, .ai, .corridor, .dxf. The initial graphics exchange standards such as IGS or the extended version of IGES, the standard for transferring the CATS drawing. So as a summary, the computer generates still images as bitmap and vector drawn images. Images can be incorporated into multimedia using the clipart or bitmap software, or by capturing, editing, or scanning images. Creating 3D images involve modeling, extruding, latting, shading, and rendering. Color is one of the most vital components of multimedia. And these are the remaining questions.